Reporter Allyson Horn is in Ayr, which is between Townsville and Bowen. So, Allyson, just about half an hour ago, there were people and cars still on the streets. Is that still the situation?
It is, Ros. You can probably see the main street behind me at the moment. It is mostly deserted, but there's still the odd car that's wandering the streets. Mainly, we think there are people out having a look at what the conditions are like around the town, because we know that Ayr is in lockdown. There is only one place that we've seen that is open, and in fact, it's actually this pub that is just behind us. We went in there a couple of minutes ago to say hello and to see who was in there, and the owner there, Hazel, she said, well, really, I opened because I thought that there might be some people who have no place to go, and this is a pretty safe building. But she did say that once those conditions start to deteriorate, which is expected, she too will be closing. What we're seeing here in Ayr at the moment, Ros, is just for a bit of a comparison, the winds here, the gusts that we're seeing are only up to 60 kilometres per hour at the moment. You can probably see behind us up the street just small little bits of debris that have been pushed out onto the path. But we are expecting that as the eye of Debbie moves across the coast, we will be lashed here as well, and that's because we're on the northern side of that storm cell. So the core of Debbie, as it's going through both Bowen and Airlie Beach, we'll be feeling the northern side of that. We are within the eye zone, but that probably gives you a bit of an understanding as to why things look a little bit calmer here at the moment comparatively to what you've seen in Bowen and Airlie Beach.
Sure. And when are conditions there in Ayr expected to worsen, Allyson?
Well, we've been up since very early this morning, and we've been seeing them gradually deteriorate. It started with pretty clear skies this morning. We've been seeing a lot of rain that's come through since then. It has just cleared up, but we know that that is going to happen. That's going to start falling again soon. In terms of wind, that has been gradually worsening throughout the morning, and we know as we move into this afternoon and as that eye goes closer to the coast and crosses and makes landfall, we're expecting to see at least 100 winds of up to 100 kilometres per hour here, if not more. And the message from authorities here is when it gets to that point, the 100 kilometres an hour point, they too will be in lockdown. So for people who haven't made preparations or who think that they might still be wandering the streets at that stage, that is highly advised against, because if they do get into trouble, if there are issues, there will be no one coming to help them. Police, SES, all the emergency services, they will be locked down. Many of them, in fact, will be in the same place we will be, which is in some accommodation up the road. And we've been speaking with them today, and their message to people here is please don't take chances. We can rebuild structures, we can replace lost homes, we cannot replace lives. The one other thing that I might mention to you quickly, Ros, is that we are thinking also about the farmers who live around this region. This is a heavy cane farming region, and we know that even with wind gusts of up to 60 kilometres per hour like we're seeing at the moment, those cane fields will be starting to feel those full blasts. It will be almost flattened out there by the time that this cyclone finishes going through, and that's going to be quite devastating for those cane farmers who are essentially well versed in cyclones, but nonetheless going to have to try and pick up the pieces.
What about the concerns for people living in outlying areas, Allyson? They usually don't have those strong structures in which to shelter.
That's right. So there's a couple of coastal communities around here. We've been out to visit one in the last couple of days. It's called Alva Beach. It's about 20 kilometres away from here. And homes out there are literally 100 metres from the ocean. So those areas have been evacuated. Police have been door knocking for days and advising people to leave. We saw some have gone to an evacuation shelter here in the town. Other people have hopped on buses and actually physically left the region and gone up to Cairns, which is much safer in their opinion. But we have been out there just yesterday afternoon, and there were still some people who were opting to stay in those homes there. They said that they felt that that was the safest place for them to be, and they were prepared to ride out the storm there. That was despite this person's house just being 100 metres away from the beach. And the major concern with that is that when the cyclone does cross the coast, we are going to see a large storm surge. So here we're expecting up to 4 metres. It could be even higher if it coincides with high tide, and that is going to result in flooding.
And just finally, air was in the direct path of Debbie, Allyson, up until yesterday. I think there must really be a sense of relief there that the worst isn't going to hit air.
Oh, a massive sense of relief. I think maybe it has led to a little bit of complacency now, and that's what authorities are telling us. But for a town like Ayr, which has never before been through a Category 4 storm, you know, for people who are facing the prospect of going through that sort of experience, it was genuinely terrifying. When we were talking with people earlier in the week, you could actually tell that they were actually quite fearful. And it was, in a sense, it was good in that they were taking it very seriously and they were taking the necessary precautions. I think now they kind of think, oh, well, it's passed south of us. We might have missed the worst of it. And while that is true, that Ayr will miss the worst of it, it doesn't mean that the warnings for dire and damaging weather are gone. They do still stand.
Allyson, thanks so much.